So I never studied Spanish before coming here, and so for me this was a really good opportunity to learn a new language and to try something that is challenging but also quite rewarding. And I thought Spanish was a useful language to learn, and I'd heard experiences of other teachers doing similar programs and really enjoying it. But this program in particular stood out to me because you get to be with a host family, which for me is the best way to experience a culture. And so that was really appealing to me. I was expecting to work 4 days, but the director of the school was really generous and made my schedule work that I only have to work 3 days. And this gave me so much flexibility, and also if I ever needed to, he was quite comfortable with me rearranging my timetable, which was a great surprise to me, and I've really enjoyed the benefits of that. And I also didn't have much teaching experience, and maybe we can talk about this later on. But I feel like I learned so many new skills, and this really tested me, but I also felt supported the whole time, so it was never too challenging. Well, it's been great. It also has come with some challenges, admittedly, but in the bigger picture, it's been a brilliant experience. I've learned so much. I remember coming into the program that I, one day really wanted to be a father. And one day, very early on, maybe the first or second weekend, my host father pulled me aside and said, "Joel, do not have kids." And so I think it was a joke, but I'm lucky to have two young boys in my host family. They're 6 and 9 years old, and they have so much energy, and they really love to play with me and show me things, and this has been great. But also because of their age, there's lots of fighting and crying and screaming, and so at times it's a little bit much. Also, the stereotypical Spanish family, there's lots of yelling, which is really not common in Australia. And I remember being quite surprised to see my host child yelling at his parents, which in Australia you would never see it. So there's some cultural things that took some adjusting, and at times it can be a little bit intense, but I think the most important thing is to be open-minded. And it's been incredible. I've seen Segovia through a local's eye, and I'm quite fortunate that my host family has got some really good connections with special people in Segovia, which meant that, for example, we got to eat at the most prestigious restaurant without a booking, and we got a special treatment. So this was really incredible. And I don't think so. And I think that's because teaching styles in so many different parts of the world are very different. So actually, it could be a benefit coming into the program with no teaching experience, because all you can do is learn. Whereas maybe if you came with your own set of standards and practices, it might not actually work. Now, I'm sure if I had a little bit more teaching experience, there would be some things that were easier. But for me, I didn't find it too challenging. I guess I'm quite lucky that my mum is a teacher. So growing up, I saw a lot of the second-hand experience of what it's like as a teacher. So going into the program, although I never had any formal education training, I sort of had a little bit of understanding as to what the role entails. And so to answer your question, no, I don't think it's necessary. And in a way, it could bring its own benefits. But I guess there's pros and cons to each. Really, it's in the big picture has been quite smooth sailing. I think most of the difficulties have more so been cultural differences than really strict things about the school necessarily. Like, for example, it took me a long time to adjust to eating schedules, and I was always so hungry because it's, in Australia we eat much earlier. So this took some adjusting. And maybe another thing is scheduling. Like, there have been a few times where I would come to a class prepared and I would find out that the class is cancelled. This happens quite often. So I guess this is something that's quite different. Maybe it's not so strict here in terms of when a class goes ahead. So this was maybe a difficulty. I have really been supported quite well by all of the teachers. So often teachers will give me notice about what they expect of me or what they need. Any difficulties will be because of a lack of communication. So sometimes I might arrive at a class and they will tell me, you're doing this, and I'm not prepared because I had no notice. And maybe this has caused some difficulties, especially early on in the program. But any times I struggled, I would tell the teachers, and really after that I haven't had too many problems. Like, for example, there was one teacher who would often send a big group of kids to me in a separate room, and I was by myself. And I really struggled with this because, one, I'm not a teacher, and two, I'm not really supposed to speak Spanish here. So I really struggled to control a large group of kids by myself. So I told her I'm happy to be by myself, but only in small groups. And ever since communicating that, I never had that problem again. So I would really encourage any people coming into this role and any schools accepting a volunteer like me to encourage communication throughout the entire program.
100%.
I really would recommend it. And I'm already trying to think of friends that I know back home who would take a benefit in this program. And I think the thing that it makes it interesting for me is that in Australia, Spanish is really not a common language to learn. So I think many people would not even consider this because many people never learn Spanish. But like I said, I had not really much of a Spanish education, and I still really experienced so much in this program, and I had an incredible time, and I want more people to experience that. I also think that someone coming from Australia has so much to share because it's maybe a country not spoken about so much in these schools. Like, it's quite common, from what I understand, to talk about the United States or England. So coming from Australia, the kids and even the teachers have been excited to learn many things. So 100% I recommend this program.
One word.
Spectacular.